Hey parents, Carmine here with your video review of Mass Effect 3. If you take a moment to think back to your childhood, you may remember those choose-your-own-adventure books where readers were given a small number of options to choose from in order to solve whatever problem they were presented with. The Mass Effect series is a choose-your-own-adventure game, but on a massive scale. Gamers are given different scenarios and allowed to make decisions that impact not just the outcome of the game, but the outcome of the entire series. Every gamer will have a different experience playing this game, and the results are absolutely glorious. Mass Effect 3 plays like an interactive science fiction movie. The player will take part in firearms-based combat, but the combat sequences are interspersed by long conversations and even longer cutscenes. This game is designed for players who take their time and explore every nook and cranny of the galaxy, so the players who ask the most questions and spend the most time exploring their environment will be well rewarded for their efforts.
But it's not the same as controlling a Reaper.
The level of violence is going to differ depending on the player. Many gamers may decide to develop their character's tech and biotic skills, which will result in some pretty awesome powers that can have devastating effects. Other players may prefer to use a wide range of firearms to mow down hordes of enemies. Blood is seen for each bullet hit, but it's often lost when the player activates ammunition powers, which add extra elemental damage on top of the normal damage that a weapon would do. For example, I tended to use Inferno ammo, which would light my enemies on fire. The only time when the violence level would seriously spike is if the player chose to use high-powered sniper rifles. If the player decides to use a sniper rifle and manages to get a headshot on human enemies, the enemy's head would explode into blood and gore, leaving a bloody, ragged red mess where the neck should be. The amount of times this happens will depend on how many headshots a player is able to get with a sniper, so it's entirely possible to go through the entire game without ever seeing this effect. However, to those players who were accurate snipers, this effect is pretty common.
And then you found your way back.
Mass Effect 3 also includes a number of romances that the player can pursue. Players of both genders can pursue a romantic relationship with a small number of different characters of both genders, and most of the relationships ultimately result in sex.
You lost your company.
But before you compare this game to any sort of softcore pornography, you should be aware that I believe the romances in Mass Effect 3 are some of the best portrayals of an adult romantic relationship in any video game ever. Instead of simply finding a person and jumping in the sack, the romances in Mass Effect 3 place the sexuality in the context of a real relationship. Loving, adult, consensual relationships usually result in sex, especially when they're put under high-stress situations like the potential extinction of all life in the galaxy. And that's exactly what the romances in Mass Effect 3 convey. In addition, for those gamers who have played the previous games, relationships can be carried over from game to game. The violence and sexuality both contributed to the overall score, but neither was frequent enough to push this game into the adults-only territory. As a result, we gave this game a recommended age of 16 years old. For the full written review, including the extra categories, log on to SideStoryGames.com.